Good morning once again. I apologize I continue to walk into the scene there. Difficulties with handheld remote and everything, so I apologize. Second section on abortion, I have quite a few more statistics to go over in regards to this one. And this is a discussion about what I think the future of abortion is going to look like for our species, okay? This is more of a theoretical, philosophical approach to this. I want to point some things out here, okay? Number one, and you should go to, George Will has a really good article that discusses this at length in National Review. I would say you could simply Google George Will, National Review, Down syndrome, okay? So, Iceland is a country, and George Will cites this. There's geneticists that claim that Iceland has effectively eradicated, I'm quoting that, Down syndrome. And that's not true, okay? So here's what's going on. In Iceland, about 85% of expecting mothers use the genetic testing that we have available in most modern industrialized countries now. My wife and I just did this for our second child to determine sex and possible deformities, diseases, things like that that the testing is capable of detecting. In Iceland, the abortion rate for women who find out that their fetus in utero has Down syndrome nears 100%. Okay? For British women, that number is 90%. In Denmark, it's 98%. In France, it's 77%. And in the US, it's 67%. Okay? I want to make a point here about those who value and push for the Medicare for all approach at healthcare as an American health industry system, okay? Knowing that there is a finite amount of money in circulation and that health-related outcomes do in fact cost money, and knowing that in various places, regardless if it's healthcare or military or law enforcement or public education, you have to find ways as a society to save money here and there. Knowing these realities, Medicare for all supporters must end at the logical conclusion that the U.S. increase its promotion of and practice of aborting babies with various types of diseases, Down syndrome being one of them, because we know as a society that those humans that are born with certain conditions are more expensive to take care of. So if you're going to understand that costs need to be saved in terms of collective spending, and that there are a finite amount of resources to pay for those things, you're going to end up at the logical conclusion that those that are more expensive to take care of, whether it be disease-related or obesity that's self-inflicted or whatever, you're going to start denying them the right to life or the right to access health care because of the fact that you know that they're more costly to care for. Okay? I want to add this. Genocide is the intentional and systematic attempt to erase a category of people. So, what we talk about, if you're willing to sit down and have an honest discussion about genocide, a person's view on the topic of genocide will absolutely depend on which group of people we're talking about. So in this case that I'm citing right here, what we're talking about are the group of people that are conceived with Down syndrome. Okay? It makes me very happy, by the way, as an anecdotal thing, to note that Gerber has chosen its new face to be that of a little boy in Dalton, Georgia, I believe, that has Down syndrome. He's the cutest little boy, and I know some Down syndrome people, and they're wonderful, wonderful people. caring, kind, compassionate, loving, and mostly self-sufficient. There are obviously extreme cases that there are certain mental handicaps that come along with that condition that are so debilitating that they can't take care of themselves, but they like to be self-sufficient. They like to do things for themselves. And we as a society misjudge these people, and the solution to the disease is not to prevent it from living. All right, that's not a positive outcome, and I think that it definitely fits the definition of genocide. But I want to, like I said, I want to look at this in relation, because this one is already happening and it's demonstrable. What will the future of this thought process be? Which group will be the next one to be targeted? I actually think that I've made the case in a couple of previous posts on this, that because of the mindset of some elites, and in particular in court positions, and where we have certain facilities located, I think it's a rather obvious thing to see that over the course of the humans promoting abortion, which is not a very long time, by the way. We've never, as a species, it's a recent ideal that has come about that we should kill the things that we don't want that we've created. Before they're allowed to get here, that is. I think that, I think that case has been made in terms of African Americans and Hispanics. We have placed these facilities in places where we know there's a higher concentration of African Americans and Hispanics. I think that's absolutely intentional. So that will be something, I think, that going forward, there will be race-driven, purely race-driven. I mean, I can certainly see a situation where, you know, and by the way, the progressive mind absolutely thinks that certain people in my area are just these backwoods hillbilly rednecks, and there are some of those. There are some racists here. There are racists everywhere. I can find them in New York too. All right, but the idea that you can promote abortion and what this will lead to in terms of selective abortions, with genetic testing being much more widespread and much more efficient. Envision a situation with these backwoods people where a white daughter of a white family gets pregnant with a black man at age 17, 18, whatever, and that family attempts to blackmail her once she finds out who the father is, because they're racist, and says, well, we'll pay for your college and we'll let you live here at our house, but we're not going. You're going to go have an abortion. We're not going to have a black baby. Could you not see that happening? Of course you could. You talk about racism in this overabundance of it in America. This a widespread phenomenon. So I know that you have these feelings that families out there believe these things, and I'm sure that they do exist anecdotally. So this is going to happen in the future as genetic testing becomes more widespread. Okay, will you be okay with that? Because there will be racism that leads to that abortion. All right, and let's say, for instance, the progressive mind also, I can cite a number of conversations in this one. The progressive mind, the left-leaning mind, believes that homosexuality is something that you're born with, okay? And I don't care one way or another how that comes about, if it's choice or birth or what, genetics or whatever. But let's say that in our advancement of genetic testing, that scientists are able to pinpoint the gene that says, yes, this baby is going to grow up and be homosexual. All right, now the family, white, black, Hispanic, Catholic, Muslim, whatever, that are anti-homosexuality, let's say that they find that gene in their baby in utero and say, no, we're not having a gay baby. Is that discrimination based on sexuality? Or are you going to promote the woman's right to choose, the pro-choice platform? You've reached a contradiction here. Which one are you going to choose? And the argument on the homosexuality one will actually go even further, I believe, because the case will be made, as it often is in terms of abortion in general, and overpopulation issues on planet Earth, that the homosexual baby, homosexuality ceases the ability to procreate. So that we know as a society that that homosexual baby is not going to create more offspring in the future and thus contribute to the overpopulation of planet Earth. What's your view going to be when that argument comes up? Are you going to go to court and fight for the necessitation of that birth of the homosexual baby over a white or black or Hispanic baby that may not be homosexual, because you know that they may contribute down the road to the increase in population, which is one of the major reasons for promoting abortion or pro-choice in the first place. I'm very interested to see where this goes and which groups get pinpointed as whether it be in terms of promoting their birth or in terms of eliminating that pregnancy based on a certain group that baby may fall into, whether it be a transgendered baby or a homosexual baby or a black or Hispanic baby or whatever the case may be. I'm very interested and curious about the future of this practice and who promotes what in relation to it. I hope that you found this discussion at least thought-provoking, and I know that that's looking very forward into the future in a philosophical way, but I hope that we can sit down and think about some of these questions logically moving forward. Thank you. That's the end of session 2.